People will only be as healthy as their self-worth.
Let's talk more about calories, because you have, I think you're one of the very few people, I haven't really heard anybody really speaking from this perspective. And you're not afraid to, because you're a doctor and because you have this knowledge, you're not afraid to prescribe maybe some things that are kind of outside the box to help people kind of have a little bit more muscle mass on them, to come from the side that we talk about quite often on this show, which is the calories being burned, the calories out rather than just the calories in. So what are some strategies that you have?
Yeah. I think that this is two-part. Number one, I have no issue with addressing and treating obesity. Okay. Do I think that it is a primary issue? I don't. I think really muscle is the primary driver for all things, or at least a major contributor to things like insulin resistance and diabetes. So with that in mind, in my practice, we really focus on body composition and optimizing for skeletal muscle. Ways in which we do that are you obviously optimize for hormones, and that is testosterone. I think that that's very valuable. I think the data would support that. Mm-hmm. Also optimizing, for women, the full spectrum of hormone replacement if and when they need it. In addition, there are a lot of tools like the things like incretins. There's a lot of talk about Ozempic and Saxenda, things that affect gut hormones and improve insulin sensitivity. All are very valuable. I believe that individuals shouldn't spend a lifetime suffering. If an individual cannot get a hold of their diet and body composition, it's not about how long can you suffer. It's let's treat, and then as we are treating, we will leverage your habits, your nutrition, your training.
Someone like my mother, for example, right? Yeah. Like she was on a walker. She was already kind of like, fairly defeated, mm-hmm. even though, we tried to give her some hope here and there, and she tried some stuff. It's tough for that person, even if their children are into fitness, for that person to turn the corner and just all of a sudden wake up and have this like awakening, like I'm going to start walking and I'm going to do this. Their mind is not there, and you have to figure out a way to meet them halfway. And so maybe some of the suggestions you're talking about, some of these pharmaceuticals might induce some new change or new attitude mm-hmm. that might help you to start to head in the right direction.
I think that's absolutely correct. And people don't know this, but I had a really nice relationship with your mom. And I really
I appreciate that so much. Yeah. Thank you.
And she would have been a perfect candidate for that kind of intervention. We have to be able to address individuals in a way. It's interesting. So we say, okay, do this, and then we wonder why it doesn't happen. And it's,
come on, you got to do it. We love it. We love going to the gym and lifting and all that shit.
It seems obvious. However, they're up against a lifetime of an inner monologue, an experience, a self-worth. People will, I've been in practice for quite some time, and people will only be as healthy as their self-worth.
Repeat that, please. That sounds amazing.
People will only be as healthy as their self-worth. Yeah. And they hit a ceiling. And I've seen this so many times where an individual has lost weight, begun to really gain the body of their dreams, what they have always hoped for, and suddenly completely sabotage themselves. In my experience, it's their capacity to be worthy of health and fitness, to truly believe that they are worthy to feel good. Mm. And individuals that have not addressed that worth, which is something that we have to do in practice, if an individual does not address that worth, they will never reach their full capacity.
So this is going to be so general because every individual has their own specific things, but in a general idea, how do you help people address that worth? Because you were mentioning that there are potential hormone implications in this, right? And we've been having this conversation because with individuals who are obese, for example, if they're a man, their testosterone is typically going to be lower because they're sedentary and they're not active. And there's all these things working against them. So they're already in a state where they don't feel good. Testosterone's blunted, they're not feeling good. And there are some people in the audience that mentioned, like, I was obese and I got on HRT and it made me feel better to have the motivation to actually take action on all these things that you guys are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So maybe along with that, how do you help address an individual's worth?
Yeah. the first thing is bring it to their attention. If I see an individual who's struggling in my practice or they come to me, one of the first questions that I ask them is, do you feel worthy? Do you feel worthy to go on this journey we're about to go on? And oftentimes they have never thought about it before. It's always subconscious. And when you do not illuminate the subconscious, you will continue to repeat it. And you will play it out. And a good provider has a responsibility to set the stage for a capacity of growth. In medicine, we're trained very algorithmically. Okay, so your testosterone is low here. I'm going to give you 150 milligrams. You're going to take this weekly. Your HSCRP inflammatory marker is here. Let's do X, Y, and Z.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we talk all about strength on this channel, but strength starts from the feet. That's why we've partnered with Vivo Barefoot shoes for over a year now. Now, Vivo Barefoot, unlike most shoes, number one, they look great, but number two, they're flexible. They're zero drop and they have a wide toe box. If you wear these shoes over time, your feet will get stronger. Now, if you guys want to get some of these shoes, head to vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Use code POWERVIVO20 at checkout to save 20% off your entire order. Enjoy this clip.
What is missing from that equation is the mental framework in which the person is functioning from. And that has to be equally addressed in terms of where their belief systems are.
And I think somebody that gets excessively heavy, maybe if they're still young, maybe they're able to work in a similar way to what they're used to from when they were younger. Maybe they can still move around okay. But I think for individuals that start to get a little older, that are heavier, due to lack of muscle, due to lack of strength, they're not going to be able to do some of the things that they did when they were younger. And that must have a massive impact on your self-worth.
Totally. And an injury. So you have to plan for it, right? You become robust and you begin to train yourself and you become very aware of your thoughts and you begin to execute when you don't feel like it. And again, this is where hormone replacement, if an individual, depending on levels that are low, you have to fix that. And this is also a good place for other pharmaceuticals. For example, like I had mentioned, semaglutide, depending, obviously, someone has to meet that criteria, in addition to really understanding that there's that internal narrative.
Is your mind, because you love to lift and you love to exercise yourself, is your mind almost a little bit like, I really just kind of need to figure out a way for this person to get jacked?
Absolutely. More often than not.
Because,
I believe that is the key to longevity.
And to get them in a frame of mind to where they are interested in that and to where that helps make them feel good.
Well, jacked and tan, actually. Right. Jacked and tan.
Right.
Yes. And if I can get them hungry enough and I can, you have to find the lever that is that person's sweet spot to potentiate an outcome.
Do you believe everyone has that?
I do. I've seen it. Again, this is where practice comes, they call it a medical practice for a reason. A good physician will be able to diagnose and recognize disease. I believe a great physician can diagnose and recognize people and the archetype of the person.
Is this
and leverage that? Yeah.
Is this where that psychiatry background came in? Because I think of typical physicians, and with all the things you're talking about in terms of assessing the way somebody thinks about themselves, if you're not classically trained in that, you're just going to look at the numbers. And when somebody needs to get help, it doesn't seem like people like you are common within that field. Am I incorrect? Or is it just they need to seek the right person?
I mean, I can only speak from my perspective, and I've met very fine physicians. I know I have a wonderful physician in my practice. He's a...
Hey, if you want to make Squirtle squirt, I know you're enjoying this content, so like, comment, subscribe, and head to the Power Project Discord below. Peace.